What's up, everyone? Jonathan Freeman here, and I'm at beautiful Shawnee Mission Park. Now, this is the course where the first tournament of the season here in Kansas City is really going to take place, and that is the Frostbreaker. And it's going to be a really fun event, and I'll tell you, out here right now, the frost has been broken. It is mud everywhere. But not to be deceived, tomorrow we're going to get 3 to 5 inches of snow to help refreeze all of this. Now, I'm out here today to give you a little preview of what the course is going to look like for the tournament. Not only that, but how a player like me, who's just above a 900 rated player without that big of an arm, would actually attack this course. So I've got a bit of a fly through for you, and without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, hole 1. So it's a wide open hole, 258 feet. Great sidearm hole for a right hand. There is a right hand hyzer to the right of the trees that you see that are flying by as well. Don't go too far, you're going to wind up in the ditch, and that's not going to give you a great look. But at 258 feet, you know, with a sidearm or with a gentle turnover, it should be one that you want to get to start off with a birdie. Hole 2 plays actually a little bit further than 281 feet for me. I disc up to a driver on this. I have a Star Shrike that's actually kind of overstable, and I throw this one down the right side and let it skip back left to the basket gently. For most players though, I don't blame you for throwing something that's a fairway driver, or even for some a mid-range to be able to get to this basket. It should be a must-get too. Hole 3, the must-get birdies are out of the way, and you're looking at a tougher hole. First thing you have to do is hit this gap. Now, 330 feet is actually moving slightly uphill as well, so it's going to feel a little bit longer than 330. My preferred play is to throw a big flex sidearm through here. That way I'm looking at the gap, I know I can hit it. A right-hand backhand shot also is not going to be a bad play. You're not going to see a lot of twos on this, if any at all, in any of the amp divisions, but there might be a few out there. It takes a really big arm to get close to this basket. Hole 4 at 441 feet. This is the first par 4 on the course in this layout. OB left of the sidewalk, so it's really important to make the gap, because a lot of times if you catch those branches on either side of this gap, you're in danger of going out of bounds. Now, once you make it through this gap, whatever your preferred method which is going to be a sidearm for me, or just pipe a backhand through there, or I've seen a lot of overhand shots just to avoid the trees and the gap altogether. You're going to want to wind up in the landing zone right where these players are here. From there, you can really, depending on which side of the tree that you're on that's guarding the basket, go to the left or to the right to be able to get there to get your easy 3. And really, this should be an easy 3, but there will be a good amount of pars, I believe, on this hole. There's always something a little bit tricky about it. Alright, hole 5, 278 feet, little uphill. This is another one of those holes that's rather deceiving, where you feel like you should be able to throw a mid-range at it, but really, it's another one where I like to step it up to a driver to get kind of skip, to try and get through these trees that the basket's tucked behind right here. Hole 6, just make the gap. That's the most important part. 267 feet. It's not too difficult to get to the basket, and in fact it may be a little more difficult to not go long. There is an OB sidewalk right behind this basket, and that's easier to reach than you think it might. I disc up on this to something like a leopard 3 to keep it straight and make sure that I get there. Probably not necessary for most. Throwing a mid-range is good enough. Alright, hole 7 at 359 feet. You could kind of throw a line that the drone's flying through right now, but I actually like to take a driver and throw a hyzer to the right, and it'll skip generally just in front of those trees to give myself a look at the birdie. Doesn't quite feel like 359 feet, it actually feels a little shorter, which is nice for them. Hole number 8, at 308 feet in 8 position. Should be a pretty easy hyzer shot to get to the basket. One thing to watch out for, if there's a headwind, don't get caught in that and wind up to the right. So if you feel a little bit of that wind, don't be afraid to disc up to something more stable, because at 308 feet it is pretty reachable. And it should be one that you want to get birdie on. Right, hole number 9. 341 feet, plays a little bit downhill. I'd like to throw a sidearm, a power sidearm with a PD2 on this and let it skip down. Sometimes it's not the greatest idea because it'll skip too far right, but right-hand, backhand hyzer is also not a bad play on this. Another one, pretty open, very reachable, should be a 2 that you want to get. Hole number 10, 272 feet. This one is a high sidearm shot. You just want to get around the bend to the right of the trees where the basket is. If you want, you can take a giant hyzer shot to try and get there, or even a good overhand shot will get there as well, but this one should be a want to get to for most players. And then you move to hole number 11, which is just a straight shot, a 391-foot hole. So throw it as far as you can without hitting trees on the right-hand side. I actually like to throw a sidearm on this to avoid the trees on the right, and that gives me the option of an open-up shot. Probably not going to get a 2 on this one. There are some that are going to be able to get that with this distance. All right, hole number 12, the second of the 2 par 4s at 584 feet. This one really feels more like a true par 4. I like to take a star strike and really pipe it down the middle to try and wind up to the left of that tree down there on the right-hand side. You can take a hyzer around to the right of those trees. There's landing zones on both sides that are going to give you a good look at the basket. In the Am fields, I don't think there's going to be any eagle looks on this one. I suppose there could be if someone gets lucky. The pros might be able to reach it, seeing this is so far downhill, but there's generally a good amount of wind when you get to this the back 9, so it makes it a little bit more difficult than you'd want. Then hole 13, we're going back up the hill we just came down. 284 feet. I'm going to fly you through the trees here, but really this is about a 315 foot worth of power hyzer shot up the hill. And once again, I like to go driver on this because anytime you're going uphill, you're going to need a little bit of extra distance to make sure you get towards the basket. It's another one of those shots, if you've got a great thumber, you can pull that out and avoid all the trees and get there. Hole number 14, yeah, you guessed we're going back down the hill again. You were correct. So there's really 2 preferred lines on this shot. There's a sidearm shot that you can go down where the drone is flying through this gap here, or you can take a big hyzer out around to the right-hand side, which is, I think, what the majority of the players will do, is take the hyzer. Now that tree that you see on the right-hand side, from the tee pad to me, looks like it's closer to the basket than it is. The basket's actually pushed about 35 feet past that tree, so don't go short on this one. Hole number 15 at 252 feet, going back up the hill once again. This was a fairly easy hyzer shot around the trees, not too dissimilar from hole number 13. But it's one that you definitely want to get the 2 on. Just make sure and hang it far enough outright to avoid the trees. Or if you're feeling really risky, you can try something up the gut to get there, go between the trees with maybe something that's super straight, or a sidearm as well works on this. Moving to hole number 16, in the B position at 416 feet. This is a tough 2 to get. One that I don't think I've actually personally ever gotten. The preferred line is to go straight down this gap on the middle. The one to the right isn't really a feasible gap on this hole for most. And the thing to do is to avoid going into the tree line on the left-hand side. Now you want to do that by throwing something that's a little flippy, but just flippy enough to come back to give you a look at an easy upshot, or maybe a long look at a birdie. But like I said, this is really difficult 2 to get. You're going to see a lot of easy 3s on this hole. Hole number 17. So this one goes pretty far uphill, and you have this cluster of trees on the right and the right-hand tree line follows all the way down towards past the basket. This is really hard to get, in my opinion. Plays farther than 317, you have to have a turnover that's not going to go into the trees or a sidearm to be able to get all the way up there. Thumber is also an option. Finally, we finish here on hole 18, par 3 at 333 feet. This one is a hyzer shot, pretty plain and simple, and it's slightly downhill, so it's fairly easy to reach. I have a mental block on this hole, and I have trouble with it, but most players shouldn't and should be able to get an easy 2 out of it. Instead, it's kind of sloping down from left to right, so when your hyzer lands into the hill, it's not going to get a lot of skip and should be right next to the basket if done right.
Alright, so that's how I would do things out here. I hope this was helpful for some of you to take maybe a look at different lines that you would take. Maybe take a look at how an AM player would play this versus a pro player at this tournament out here. This is going to be a great event, as most events in Kansas City are. So I hope that if you have a chance to make it out, because these events generally fill up fairly quickly. If you don't, come out and have some fun, caddy for a buddy, and support Kansas City Disc Golf.